Hi, welcome everyone. Today we have a wonderful guest. This is Peter Wilken. I will briefly tell you the story how we met, not in person yet, hopefully in 2026. But Peter is a brand strategy with over 30 years of experience working in every geography that you can imagine that he will tell us now. He's based in Vancouver, Canada, and we met over an online meeting after I read his latest book, Dim Sum Strategy, and I was like so inspired by his work. And he was so approachable. We had the most wonderful conversation. So today I invited him to the podcast so he can share his experience, his lessons, and his perspective on brand and brand building in today's world. So welcome, Peter. If you could just introduce yourself from a more personal point of view, then it's not just the professional side, please do. And then I will get this conversation started.
Perfect. Okay. Well, listen, thank you, Tamara. It's really my pleasure to be here. We had such a good conversation last time. We should probably have recorded that and potted that, but it's going to be a repeat again. How much do you want me to share about myself? Because as you'll find out, it's a dangerous thing asking me to talk about myself because, you know,
Oh, no, I want all the juicy parts because I feel like when you get to know the person behind the title, that's where magic starts happening. So please feel free to share as much as you wish.
okay, well, that's really kind. I don't really sometimes know how to describe myself now. I am a strategist, a brand consultant. I'm an author. I'm a speaker on creative thinking and brands and strategy. But if you look into my website and what we talk about, I start by saying, um, I'm a dad man, because, we always tend to talk about what we do with our professions, and particularly men, less so women. Women have got their priorities more right than men generally. Um, but
We try, we
um,
try. We don't always succeed.
you tend to validate yourself by the roles that you've played in your career. And so you always go back and say, this is what I did and where I was. And I will bore you with that in a minute so people have got some context. But actually, the things that are really important to us are relationships and family. And so I start with, dad, man, and I'm a father now to three boys who are all grown up. The youngest one has just come back to us. I'm graduated from the University of Edinburgh, and he's up here. He's a hockey player. He's a philosopher doing law. The middle one is in London, the UK. He's an actor. The eldest one just lives down the road from us here in Port Coquitlam, and he works for Mercedes. He's already made us grandparents. So I'm actually, have a
Wow.
9-year-old granddaughter and a 6-year-old grandson who are just a delight. Married to Regina, who's wonderful. She's an ex-ad lady who runs her own charitable foundation that she co-founded 10 years ago, called I'm a Hippie, and it's all about children's hip health care around the world. And she's done a marvelous job of building that up to being a leader in its category worldwide now. So we moved to Vancouver nearly 20 years ago now, 18 years ago, from Hong Kong. I spent most of my life in Asia. My last corporate role there was running VBDO Asia Pacific at Hong Kong. So I looked after their 14 markets. And that's where my background was. It was advertising. I'll finish off my little story first. I mean, my actual spiritual home is Edinburgh, Scotland, but you would probably not recognize that. But since then, lived all over the place, spent a couple of years in Jackson, Mississippi, for people who know when I was a kid. I went back to England and Southampton, back up to Scotland, moved to the Solomon Islands when I was younger, had 6 years there, living on Guadalcanal. Came back, university and school in Scotland, in Edinburgh, worked first in advertising in London, moved to Singapore with Ogilvy, worked there, then into Hong Kong first time, then Malaysia, then the Philippines, then back to Hong Kong, and now in Vancouver, and all of the time in Asia, spinning around the world. So I'm a global gypsy, if you like.
Oh, it's a
Um,
full
uh,
citizenship of the world, I have to say. Like,
So, and that's so
amazing.
my background was advertising, and my last corporate role was running BBDO Asia Pacific. I had 5 years running Live in it, Southeast Asia, and in Malaysia. I had 11 years with Ogilvy, starting in London and then moving to Singapore and then running their Philippine office, which is was a real great challenge. And so that was fun. I left that around about 2000, just after 9/11, to set up my own company with a couple of partners called the Brand Company. And with the benefit of hindsight now, because it's 25 years now, it's shocking when you look back, we were one of the very first pioneer specialist brand consulting companies. And even though people would still kind of label you with a name like the Brand Company as a design outfit or someone who's
Mm,
going to give you communication solutions. Um, Although that was an end product of what we did, that wasn't really what we did. What we were was a change management company from a brand perspective.
mm,
And this is where the whole story comes in about, brand DNAs and brand centered management and what we had felt. My two partners, one was Li Ka-shing's top marketing guy for his telco company. The other was Hong Kong's young entrepreneur for the year, who had owned China.com and made himself very wealthy on the back of that, and then spent and lost most of it within a couple of years, as young entrepreneurs tend to do. Um, Very smart guys, anyway, my partners. And um, we noticed that millions and millions and millions of dollars being spent on what we call the superficial packaging of brands. As your
mm,
logo, your design identity, your visual identity, freshening up a website, even your advertising campaigns. What I've been spending my last 20 years doing. Um, but not the substance of the experience that you are delivering through your products and your service, through your people who walk the talk, your culture, and through the systems and processes that impact that. So I'm running ahead of myself, but that's what the Brand Company did, and that's where we come on to the story of dim sum strategy.
visionaries, visionaries. I mean, like, well, businesses have always been needing substance, but today more than ever. But thinking about like 20 years ago, definitely visionaries because it was planting the seeds of what you will be great businesses today.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I wish. Um, I I mean, hindsight again is a wonderful thing. I practice now through my company Dolphin and through what I'm doing with the Lighthouse, my online program, all the principles that we developed in the
Mm,
brand company, which was that brand centered management process, putting your brand at the center of everything that drives your organization, everything you do and everything you say is driven by your brand. And the Lighthouse is all about the importance of being a chief brand officer instead of
mm,
just a chief executive officer. So, t- teaching chief executive officers the language of brand so they can embed it in their
mm,
soul and their spirit to drive all the way through their organization, or at least encouraging them to bring in a right hand man or woman who operates as the chief brand officer, as their right or left hand support person who can do that job and use the spirit of what it is that you stand for or wish to stand for in
mm.
your most valuable customers' minds. Your brand, that territory in the mind that you want to own, and be able to discover that, define that, and set the direction to be able to deliver against your brand promise consistently in everything you do and say. So, yeah, that's
Oh, that's a great introduction. Like, if you're not into Peter's work after that introduction, I don't know what will make you be in the mood to get to know him. Um, But before we kind of like dissect brand from our both sides of the world, I wanted to start our conversation because, as you know, in Love and Fear, we are like at the core of what something that we feel is missing in today's world, which is emotional work. And I would like to start asking you two questions that may sound super simple. This depends on the person and the context, but sometimes are more complex than we think. The first of them is like, if you could share something that you're loving today and something that is triggering fear or is making you afraid today.
Right. Um, and not necessarily directly linked into brands or
Hmm. Yeah.
organizations. Not to be heavy. I mean, it's personal at the moment.
Yeah. It could be personal. It could be anything. Yes.
Um, yeah, because I don't know whether your listeners are out there, especially, um, if they're independent business owners or if they're like designers um, or creatives of any type, advertisers. Um, this is unprecedented times, and it seems to be cliche that we're hearing that so often. But one of the tools that I talk about is the Trompenaars turbulence model, which is a very simple level of turbulence that the world's in. T1 is very slow moving old man river, predictable. What he did today is the same as he did yesterday, will be the same as tomorrow. And T5 is crazy, Niagara Falls turbulence, total unpredictable. Beam me up, get me out of here, Scotty. Um, and then everything in between. And most people can tolerate or like a certain level of turbulence, especially if you're in the creative industry or if you're an entrepreneurial
Mm.
type. You're a shaker and a mover anyway, you break glass, but you can't constantly live in a T4, T5 environment. It's exhausting, paddling against the current. Eventually your muscles tire or something happens and you're swept away. So you need time to kind of pull into the bank and recover. Most people in the kind of, shall we say, normal world, I don't know, are more comfortable with a lower level of turbulence, T1 or T2. It is predictable. You get up, you do the same kind of job. You may or may not like it. It may be a bit more mundane, but it's predictable, and you can come back and you can fill your gap hours in with what you really want to do, and things like that, and be fulfilled that way. What's happening now is that things beyond our control, geopolitics, COVID-19 hitting us, tax, tariffs, wars, displacement, all of these immigration policies. We're seeing all of this, to my mind, um, regressive move towards protected borders and small thinking and let's do it our way and repel everything else instead of a more expansive borderless world, which is really what I ultimately believe in. Um, that is becoming much, much more unpredictable. We're experiencing higher levels of turbulence, T4 and T5, a world that we cannot control. And that creates uncertainty and anxiety and fear. Um,
Mm.
and I think we're in that world now more than we have ever been before. The rate of acceleration of change
Yes.
and dealing with that level of uncertainty. AI, we haven't started even talking about how that is disrupting um,
Yes.
everything. I am instinctively a glass half full kind of guy, but I'm a realist as well. I kind of in terms of
And you're
impacts
still
that that has.
human
That's
as
another.
everyone else.
So your question was, what am I loving and what am I fearing? And so
Hmm.
in all of this, I, like I do in my course and like I do with brands, I say, come back to the things that are constant in change, the things that will, despite everything and all the hurricanes and the typhoons that you're facing of change, that will remain the same. And with brands, there it is kind of simple. It's things like brands will always want to be relevant to their target audiences. They'll always want to be distinctive. They'll want to stand out and differentiate themselves from their competitors. They should always want to interest their customers into becoming customers. They should be compelling in what they're offering, and they should always want to be credible, i.e., delivering against their promises. So those things never change. And
Yes.
don't lose sight of those things, whoever you are, brand builders, organizations listening there. Just hold on to those and express them the way in which you express them, the environment, the world, the community, all of those things may change around it, but those constants never, never change. And similarly with many of our human traits. I mean, you've got love and fear; those things never change. Um,
Mm.
Fear and greed is the main one. You know, fear of missing out, greed. I want things. I need more money. It's going to make me this. Yeah, happy. I need that. Keeping up with the Joneses, comparisons. It's so much more than fear and greed, though. There's for me, um, the main drivers are things. And I was listening to a great podcast the other day that I totally relate to. Um, Not as good as your podcast tomorrow, might add.
They're all great. I think everyone today doing a podcast, it's also a sign of like aiming for a connection. So
Yeah,
I root for every person behind a mic and a screen. I want them to be more voices out there. Um, it
right.
just brings more diversity and richness into the today's scene, you know?
Yeah. So
Mm.
this was Diary of a CEO, and it was
Oh,
Stephen
I
Bart. But
love it. I'm such
that's
a huge fan of
yeah, yeah.
Steve's job, like, and his
It was,
journey. No,
it was
total
brilliant,
inspiration.
brilliant. And he had a great financial analyst on there, Morgan Housel. And they were only saying things that I've been preaching. And I'm not saying, wow, look at me, I was there first. Nothing like that. It was more just reinforcing that what my core beliefs were about what stood people apart in tough times and good. And you really only find the true nature of individuals in difficult times. Anybody can be good and nice and pleasant when things are good and bright and sunny and the
Mm,
sun is out and everyone's making hay. It's when things are really tough that you find the true character and nature of people. And you can ask me, I'll share you some thoughts on dolphins and things like that later if you're interested. But anyway, what the key things there that were coming out were independence, the ability to be able to control your own destiny up to a point, and a purpose, a sense of meaningful purpose. And for me, I define that in our brand DNA. It's the very first thing we'd said. Why do you exist beyond making money to serve others? And that is to serve others is a key thing as well. It requires that you identify who you're serving, who your key practical segments are, and what you're doing for them. We're all people at the end of the day, whether it's a company or a product, even it's
yeah,
how it interacts with that human thing. So, um, independence. Yeah, do you require some kind of money to do that? To exist? Yes, but this was all does money make you happy? And of course, the answer was no, not necessarily. We all know very unhappy multimillionaires, or um, and people who have no money but are very content with their life. Um, so yeah, do I think money is important? Yes, you do need to survive and be able to pay bills and things like that. Um, I would have added to that a third one, which is relationships. And you'll find that in the back. It's one of the last things that I do in the back of the dim sum strategy book, if
yeah,
you can remember, which was that longest running longitudinal study on happiness and what makes us happy. And the conclusion of that was it's not necessarily success or visibility or fame or money or any of those things. It's the impact that you made on the relationships that were really important to you. Um, Partners, um, siblings, children, relatives, friends,
yeah,
uh,
100%.
and
And
I
even
believe that to be true.
uh, same here. And I think it's also true, like if you take it to the business, like businesses and brands who are also, besides trying to make money, which is of course we need it to keep it on the game, but those who are trying to build relationships through their businesses, they're here for the long term, you know?
Yeah,
They're here like beyond the dollar that they make that day. Like somehow they get meaning and something like you mentioned, like substance to people's lives. And people can like do not forget that.
no,
I think if you take local businesses who may not have like huge budgets into maybe creating a lot of advertising or a lot of like digital and performance marketing, but they do bring something in the way that they build experience for the customers that is so transcendent, and it just stacks with people that they recommend you later, and there's like that loyalty of always going to that place because you mean something to them, and those are relationships. They're not just clients.
Yeah.
So I agree. I love that ending of the book because I feel it just reinforces the idea that we build businesses as a bridge to connect with other people, but there's people in both sides of the equation, and we usually forget that because today's world is so fast and it's a rush, and all of this that you talk about, the chaos and the uncertainty and the continuous change that sometimes is just too fast for our humanity to process, that we kind of like forget that we're still human in every part of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, Anyway, I after that long answer, I don't think I ever answered your question, which was, "What am I loving?" And so, the one thing that in all of this thing, and I was sharing with you beforehand, um, it's been a difficult year and a half for me medically wise. So it's been quite a challenge, and I've had to face up to my own mortality. So I don't think I ever answered your question, right? Which was, "What am I loving?" Um, and so let me try and get onto that. As I said, I was sharing with you a little earlier. I've had a very kind of challenging year and a half health wise, not completely and on the mend now, fortunately. But so I'm very thankful for that. But in my kind of recovery period, one of the things that has really been spiritually uplifting for me has just been what I call communing with nature. And we have a beautiful 2 kilometer walk on the seafront here in West Vancouver. Um, I mean, I'm truly, truly spoiled, and I will kind of get up very early in the morning, or at least one point every day, and walk the sea walk. And I love nature and animals, and Dolphin is the name of my company. But you walk along there, I actually saw a whole pod of Pacific white-sided dolphins, which are very rare to see that close inshore. They're ocean going. We see orcas, sort of seen a grey whale. There's a family of sea otters that kind of come
Oh my
right down there. They're
gosh.
right in front of us, and it's just awe-inspiring. Always seals, from barking seals to harbour seals and sea lions, and tons of nature. You name it, they've seen it on the sea walk, and it just communing with nature for me just brings you so much closer to humanity that we were talking about. And when I'm struggling with things that don't make sense to me, that things that seem inherently unfair or unjust or not right, um, I'm blessed and cursed with this devil of divine discontent on my shoulder that always says, you can change the world, Peter. You can change the world. And on one hand, that's really great and empowering. And I don't mean to change the world in a huge kind of
Huge
Steve
way.
Jobs, but just shake it on its axis for 15 seconds. So say, no, no, that was me. Um, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So on the positive side, it's really empowering. On the downside, it leaves you never satisfied, thinking that you can do more and be better. And,
Mm,
second is never good enough, even if it's out of thousands. You've got to be first, kind of thing, always chasing. So I need to kind of suppress it a little bit. And that calms me down, and it makes me real. And I find a lot of inspiration and a lot of metaphors in the world of natural history and animals and things like that. So, when people ask me and say, "Who are you and what are you?" I say, "I'm a black sheep." People get that, and we can talk a little bit more about that, how we fit in with families and roles and brand
mhm.
strategists and stuff like that. I'm a silver fox, as you can see. So hopefully that translates into experience and a little bit of wisdom, but not just old age. And I'm a blue dolphin, and that means really open thinking and challenging and creating new universes, better universes where everyone exists. So Uh, that's and then people say, "Ooh, what do you mean by that?" And then you're automatically saying, "Oh, this guy's in that case," or like, but yeah, it's a more interesting kind of definition of who you are, and quite a few people relate.
Oh, I think it's such a good exercise, that one that you just mentioned, because we are on autopilot most of the time. That when you ask people like, "Who are you? What do you do? Like, where you from?" We keep getting these pre-made answers that really somehow has stopped to create like meaningful connection among people.
Yeah,
And when someone kind of like challenges that, like from your perspective, it's such a great exercise, because it's just people are forced to be present, more conscious, and like truly listen to what the other person has to say in front of you.
yeah.
I feel it's refreshing. And coming from a creative person, um, I think you are changing people's life just with that little detail, because
No, I hope so.
it's just
Uh,
forcing people to, oh,
mm.
let me just stop for a second and think differently before I answer or listen to your story. So that's great.
Um, I mean, this is a two-way. This is a conversation. It's not all about me. So, do people ever get to ask you the
Oh,
question that you like asking about? Is something you're loving? I mean, share with
oh,
me.
100%. One of the things that I'm loving is this challenging the introductions among people who are just meeting for the first time. Because this week, a friend of mine from Italy just reminded me, she wrote an entire article about something that we experienced during this year, but that we've been kind of like living through the last 5 to maybe 7 years, which is the question, where are you from?
Yeah,
You know? And most of the times it sounds a very easy question, because people will just relate it with nationality or like what passport do you have. But you will get me on this after your introduction on all the places that you have lived. It's so hard to answer
mm,
when you don't have only one place, or where you're a person that during the year it's moving through different cities, or cities that you have already been, but you don't have a permanent location. So sometimes people ask me like, where you from or where you based? And I always have that pause of like, do
yeah.
you have time? Because
Mm,
like it's not like a one word answer. And one thing that we discovered with my friend Erica, that it was like, we were in Portugal in this huge festival, so we were being asked this question 20 times per day. So
yeah,
on day two, we couldn't just laugh anymore. And she came out with this concept of multi-based, um, which means that we're not 100% digital nomads, because we don't feel like it. Especially me, I travel with my dog. So nomad, it's not really my word. I really need roots. But at the same time, I'm changing locations every 3 to 4 months. Um, and I stay in those places at least a month. And I have a regular life, you know? I don't go to a resort to work on the middle of the beach, or like having beers and meeting people all the time. I just like go to the bakery, the local coffee shop, supermarkets. Those are my three
yeah.
baselines. And just be able to maybe challenge the question, where you're from. And I heard this author, I can't remember her name. I'm gonna search it and link it on the description of the episode, because it's very interesting to listen to. She's like, don't ask me where I'm from, ask me where I'm local, or where do I feel like a local. And that will give you a better understanding of who I am, what do I like, what represents me. And
That's
yeah, it's so interesting, because also it just forces us to get out of the, how you doing? Fine. And you? Who are you? And like, where you from? And you say what city, and someone else says a city, and conversation is over. this actually opens conversation.
No, absolutely. I mean, better questions is another part of what the dim sum thing, asking things. A better question from where you're from is this: is where do you belong?
Mm,
Because it's not people automatically go geographically, but I actually go into the
emotionally, yeah.
thinking it's so emotional. Well, I belong in the world of creative thinking, of strategic thinking further around corners, of breaking conventional wisdoms, of seeing the bigger picture, of synthesizing small bits to make an
Mm,
instant bigger picture out of it by taking calculated risks to create worlds, by creating visions that we can pursue, and hopefully persuading and developing strategies to find a path to take you there. That's where I belong. What country is that? Um, it's I can tell you where that is, and I've got other aspects to me as well. Up to we talked about relationships and building up strengths, and also being authoritative enough to be well researched and having the data behind you and analysis and being able to operate and execute it well. All of those are really kind of desirable skills. I don't have them all. Um,
mm.
it was more where I was just describing. But yeah, people typically ask me, and I didn't mean to sound show off. It's just that's the way that's been my life. I have been just traveling around. So when you kind of come into a country, and particularly one like Canada or North America, where until a short while ago, less than 10% people have a passport even. Yeah, and it's like um, the forms that they ask you to fill in government forms, they're not long enough to put all the countries that I've been in. They only have like two spaces. I'm thinking, I'm
I
sorry, this
know. I
working.
know.
And you know exactly where you've been there. It's just
Yeah. It's like, I ran out of space. Do you have like another form?
I know, and we know also that you leave a little bit of your soul everywhere you've been,
Mm.
and a little bit of the places that you've been always you carry with you as well. So
Yeah.
the classic question that follows mine is, well, where's your favorite place? What did you like living in best? And it
Mhm.
sounds a very cliched answer, but I always say, look, it's a fruit basket. Every country was a different fruit, and they were all wonderful in their own different ways. It's hard to pick a favorite. I know that's a bit of a cop out.
No, but it's true, and also because recently someone told me this phrase is like every city that you visit whispers you something,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to kind of like take that lesson for your life from each city that you've visited long enough to belong.
Yes.
And somehow, like now that we're in this road of belonging, I love the perspective because I don't know, I imagined you asking your clients and the brands that you work with, like, where is your brand belonging? Because like brands do not question themselves most of the times as a belonging space, which is something that we can dive deeper, but I feel it's heading that way. It's it's going from the tangible and physical and like very concrete producty kind of way into this, I wouldn't even say space, I would say kind of like atmosphere or a parameter where people can belong to in different formats.
Yeah.
So when you like phrase it that way, like where do you feel you belong? It's such a rich question in like so many levels. So many levels. Because it's also, I feel personally, an urge in today's world. People are looking to belong somewhere. And that could be in a relationship, on a job, on a business,
Yeah.
or something that they're purchasing. Because, like, we feel like we don't belong anywhere, like that isolation effect that modern world has created. It's just, it's a very rich perspective, Peter, just to ask from the strategy point of view,
Oh, no,
w-
that's what it's good, and
where
I'm
do we
quite
belong?
yeah, and it it applies to brands as well as people and
Mhm.
organizations. And that's where the kind of your DNA comes in as well. It's all very human, and each brand, each organization, like an individual, is unique in its characteristics and it's complex. And we
Mhm.
shouldn't pretend that we know every single aspect. And it does change, and it has moods. It operates differently with different people and in different environments. But you can recognize the core characteristics, the constants, the things that don't change that help define you. And that's what the whole brand DNA is about. Now, about your role, what are your core beliefs? What are the things that you would die in a ditch for that aren't just the kind of the gold standard cost of entry things like, we're trustworthy and high integrity and that's well, look, if you were liars and untrustworthy, would anyone do business with you? I mean, come on. Um, you know, quality and excellence in everything we do. It's the best people to work for and with. No, okay, take that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, no, really, what makes you different? Seriously, tell me. Yeah. Um, oh, yeah, whatever,
Yeah, but if you would ask it, like what you just mentioned, something that doesn't change over time,
mm,
if you need to pick something to define you, but that you cannot change in 2 years, 5, 10, or 15, what would you choose? Because it's easy to go to those I don't know, politically safe places, everyone wants to be the best
yeah,
or the leader in something or like quality driven, yada yada yada. But it's like when it comes to like the real deal in something you're not willing to sacrifice along the journey of your business, what are those things? And it cannot be that many, because if one thing is happening is that businesses today are required to change very fast to adjust any change from the outside. So those three elements that you can bring on your boat of like non-changing universal truths are quite a few. They're not that many. 100%. And I feel that also kind of like brings us like, where do brands belong? Because like if you need to ask them, like, their teams and founders, where do you belong? There are not that many places for sure. It's a great point of view when it comes to, as we talked a bit earlier today, like go under the surface and go deep into the substance and what's at the core of every brand. I loved
yeah.
it. I loved it. So, Peter, let me ask you a question that I feel like someone with your journey and your expertise, and like, of course, you have worked with so many talented people um, in different markets and different industries. What do you think is brand building today? Like, if we put ourselves like it's 2025 or it's 2026 because we're almost there, what is truly brand building? Because I feel there's always kind of like a fog around the idea of brand.
Mm.
And I think most of the times we, the ones doing brand building, are not quite clear about what it is and what is not.
Mm.
What do you feel is like that core essence of what it is to build a brand today?
Well, we were touching on this before we started, and I think it's a big question, by the way, but I think if there was a short answer, it would be we are genuinely moving for the first time, I think, towards understanding that brands are a mixture of art and science. I mean, it's we're currently um, heart and head, and and when you're building a brand, that you need that whole brained approach. One or the other is not going to cut it. I think as we're moving into 2026, the last few years, and we're still going that way, has been a little bit left modal thinking. It's been a little bit too rational performance measurement. Let's
Mhm.
look at clicks and likes and GA4 analytics and let's measure things. And When I started in advertising 30 plus 40 years ago, nearly, the old statement everyone knows was, we're spending X million dollars on our advertising campaign and we're wasting half of it. We just don't know which half. That is still true and will continue to be true forever, because half of it is emotional. It's not rational.
Mm,
It's not logical. You can't put your finger on it. It's something that's constantly human and will change, and can change in an instant, whether or not somebody picks up on a nuance, whether somebody absolutely connects with a communication that you're saying, or the opposite, takes offense when none was meant, but runs off, where you get humor or you don't get humor, whether it strikes a nerve or a chord or it doesn't. So, um, brand building today is, or where it needs to go, is in that total perspective of what a brand is. A brand is not just the communication side. It's not just the visuals and the logos and the
mm,
identities. Everyone is getting gradually past that. It's, for me, a brand is the thing that is at the center, the core of what drives business.
mm,
Brand, business, and communications are integrated. Um, and at the heart of that is your brand DNA, this living organism that defines who you are, that is a template for replicating those consistent desired experiences and those consistent desired perceptions in the mind that you're trying to create. That shouldn't change, because the best brands are consistent in how they make you feel, and what
mm,
experience they give you over time, everywhere where you meet them, at every touch point. So I think, long answer to a very big question, that's where brand building is going, where business owners realize and appreciate that the brand is not that thing that you farm off to your chief marketing officer, or you put out to your design agency, or you do that and you tick that box. Brand is the heart of your business.
mm,
It's what you're standing for in your most valuable customers' minds and hearts. And it's something that can shape and drive every aspect of what your organization does, starting with your products and services and your people and the culture and the systems and processes that deliver your core promise. Your promise is the heart of your DNA. And then how you talk about it internally, externally, through communications, and then design. So we're beginning to get that holistic thing, and some people have been there many, many years ago, and
mm.
and have been lone voices in the wilderness, and gradually kind of getting heard a little bit more. I think that's going to become more and more mainstream, and that's part of my life's mission. Really, has been, talking about, the value of brand in a brand centered management process. Put the brand at the center of your business
Mm.
and use it to drive where you want to go. It's proven to be phenomenally successful over the 25 years I've been practicing it. And it'll be successful for people who adopt it and execute it well.
Oh, I agree 100% when you say the brand is the heart of the business, because it just pumps the blood to the rest of the organs, the rest of the body. Um, and one thing I would like to add, that because it's not just one person's or one department's job, building a brand today, it's like raising a kid. It takes a village, you know? And it also requires to embrace a new mindset that truly understands collaboration. Because it's building a brand is not something that you can just purchase, I would just put it on my online card, buy, deliver. You know, it doesn't really work that way. Because like when you're on our side and we're trying to help our clients to understand who they are, and we guide them through the process of visualizing it, and sometimes in words and visuals, it just also requires a personal work from their side to
Mm.
provide the right information for us to shape it. And so later more people are like one agency can work with this other agency, and it can work with one team inside your business and then the other team. But finally, we all need to work together, because otherwise, it's you don't have one body, or you even have a Frankenstein, or you either have different bodies that are trying to use the same costume, but it's not authentic. It's
No,
just a
yeah.
costume.
You I mean, you're so right. I mean, obviously, yes, it is. It's a multi-team um,
Mhm,
uh, role to build brands, really, and you need so many different skill sets, complementary skill
mhm,
sets to really succeed. One of the things that I was fortunate enough to learn very, very early on as a kind of junior knee high to a grasshopper trainee executive at a London ad agency was that it's a myth for brand owners to think that they own their brands. If they're successful,
mhm,
their brands are owned by their customers and the other stakeholders. They share in it. They may steward it. I prefer to kind of think of it more like um, carrying a flame or a torch. It's a temporary thing. We're all on this planet for a short period of time. You
yes.
steward your brand and you can direct it in ways that hopefully have to see it flourish, but may also kill it sometimes. And I was there for the launch of New Coke, which is put down in Harvard Business Review as the classic marketing in how not to do it. Um, but although they turned it around in a very, very effective way. And for people who don't remember that, it was way back in 1983, 84. And Coke were first doing tests against Pepsi and realizing that in blind taste test, Pepsi was preferred. It had a richer,
Mm,
sweeter kind of cola taste. Um, and only when I think Pepsi overtook Coca-Cola in North America and what they called the channels of free choice. Those were things like vending machines and stuff where people could choose, and there wasn't a bottle of relationship or a restaurant that was tied up to one or the other brand. And so they changed their formula and made it sweeter, closer to what Pepsi's was. Took the old Coca West. Here we are, new Coke, and there was uproar, and everyone said, "Hang on, you can't take our Coke away. It's ours. It's not yours." And bring old Coke back. And they formed these big protest lobbies and unionized. And Coke, we were advising to Coke then, and there was a plan B in case things hadn't gone well, but it wasn't ever meant to see the light of day, and it was kind of written in pencil on a couple of A4 sheets of paper and lost somewhere on a shelf. And, kind of and anyway, it was a very, very good recovery in the end, and they did the right thing and said, "Look, we're wrong. It's not our brand. It's your brand. We give it back to you, and we'll never
oh,
forget that lesson." And
this
that's
is
exactly what they did, and huge awareness and interest and things around that whole event. So, circling back to your point about it, the strongest brands and brand owners, listen to this intentionally. They share their brands with people who become evangelists and advocates for it because they feel they
mm,
belong to it, and that's their brand. They belong, and that's what ultimately you want. You don't ever want to have to sell your brand. You want people to sell you for yourself. You walk into a room and say, I'm Peter, trust me, I'm great, or
oh yes, I know, this is an excellent, such a good example. Yes.
and it's done grand. But if I'm quiet there and I'm with you, and Tamara says to somebody, honestly, I've worked with Peter, and 5 years we did this, and we built our business together, and we had some tough challenges. It wasn't always right, but yeah, we got there in the end, and he knows his stuff. That's what makes the difference, and how you build up loyalty, and not just in kind of service businesses, and we all know that in terms of referral, but in all types of brand associations. It's
Oh,
how you
I,
how you
I
build the advocates.
I couldn't agree more. And I want to take the example that you just gave us from Coca-Cola. We call it that way outside of the North America side. um, it's the fact that sometimes when you're on the side of making decisions about how your brand strategy, what we're gonna do, how we're gonna communicate it. I mean, we're not perfect. We're still humans. on the other side, sometimes aiming for the best outcome possible. And sometimes reality checks in, like in this case, and people were like demanding their Coke, like my tradition, this is part of my history, please don't change it. It's like a happy problem.
Yeah.
But I feel it also shows how important it is for brands to be vulnerable and say, like, we made a mistake. It was not our intention. We now see how important this is, and we're changing direction. You know, like we are allowed to mess up. We are allowed not to be pristine perfect, because that's what true authenticity for me it is, even when it comes to a brand. And I feel trust is not only gained because you never messed up, you know?
Yeah.
Trust is gained in the little details that you do every day for
Yeah.
a very long period of time.
Yeah.
I agree 100% when you say, like, okay, this is Peter. So I'm going to be your new brand strategist. Just trust me.
Yeah.
And magically, people should trust any brand, because that
Yeah.
basically is what every brief that creatives get says. So we have this product. We want it to be top of line and top of the market in 30 days. And I want people to trust us
Yeah.
immediately. And those three things will never go along with the word immediately, because
No.
that's just
Yeah.
how we're wired. Like, we cannot trust anything or anyone immediately. It
Yeah.
just
But
doesn't work that way.
you could hit on a really good point, Tamara, which I encounter all the time. And my strategist in the Lighthouse community asked me the whole time, how do we sell strategy to skeptics and disbelievers, and who don't necessarily value the difference you can make when we know it can change their world? And the dilemma is, you're so right. You are asking people to expose themselves, literally, strip bare naked, and say, come in. I trust you unequivocally. You know what that's like. I've just had to hire a new tech VA to get in onto the back end of my stuff and give all my passwords. And when they kind of think, well, I can't do it myself. I need your help. I've got to have that leap of faith. Um, we do it when we get on a plane. Every single time we put our trust and faith in a pilot and a system and an airline to get us safe. We do it when we go under the knife in surgery. You trust implicitly the
Mm,
surgeon to do it. But uh, the reticence there to do it with your strategy seems to be even worse than any of that. I don't know
yes.
why it should be. I mean, well, it should be, because it is hugely important. And the reality is, one of the dilemmas in our industry is that the barriers to entry to be qualified, to be
Mm,
able to do that strategic work and insight, is very, very low. And especially with AI now, anyone
mm,
can come in and call themselves a brand strategist and put very plausible websites and programs together, and even fabricated or part truth case studies where you know um, and 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 for many, that's that might work, but you can see where the mistrust comes in when
mm,
there is a kind of lack of that experience. Things don't work out, or it ends up being pushed back into that, what I call, superficial area of branding. Yeah, we'll give you a design solution, but oh
yeah.
no, we're actually going to change the fundamentals of your positioning and how you're appealing, and whether or not you're even appealing to the right customer segment, or you know um,
Mm,
developing products alliance. That's all missed. So it was a really, yeah, valid point you've got about, there is a requirement for a leap of faith and trust.
yes.
And I say that when I'm entering new relationships with consultant clients, and say, I totally understand how difficult this is for you. And, I am not going to lie to you. You require a leap of faith with me.
Mm,
And to a certain extent, I require a leap of faith with you as well. My
yeah.
reputation is on the line, and I want to do good business with people who are going to value what I do.
Mm.
And so, again, that don't mean to sound cocky or arrogant and like that, but it is a two-way
Yeah,
relationship.
because it's a relationship. In order to work on strategy, we cannot just do it from a transactional point of view, because we really, really, really are going to dig deep into your story, your motivations, like your background, your vision, your desire for the future. So I feel like it's like a metaphor. We are so close to being a therapist, like for the business. So if picking a therapist, it's a hard thing to do in life, but it requires a leap of faith, as you mentioned. At one point, you just need to go into the room, into the session, and just kind of like let the control freak out so
Yeah.
you can build a relationship and you can get to good work done together.
Yeah.
When that starts happening, like the results are amazing. But I think I agree 100% with you on how the qualifications are a key element. Because, like, you wouldn't trust a therapist who just tells you, yeah, I'm just backing up everything on AI. You're like, you need the life experience.
Yeah.
Strategy needs like at least a baseline of life
Yeah.
experience, because it's about understanding people, how we interact, how we feel, you know, what challenges we're facing, and then kind of like infuse your business with those analysis so it has meaning and depth, and it's
Yeah.
just not like a pretty surface that you shake it and it falls down. um so I love it, like that leap of faith concept, because it's mutual,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I
And
felt it when it's not in both parts, the work doesn't really come, like it doesn't have a very great outcome.
yeah. No, and yeah, it's better confronting it right up front and saying, yeah, I appreciate and admire the fact that you sign on the dotted line or whatever we're doing, or we shake hands on this deal. There's a leap of faith, and yeah, trust you can only build up over time, as you said. Easy to
Mhm.
lose, very difficult to gain. Uh,
Yeah, and probably also you cannot build it in 30 days, because we end up in a place in today's world where everything is measured in 30 days. You know, like everything is just like it's a little bit insane if you ask me.
well, it's crazy, and because so much is done in that way, I think I don't want to kind of sound like one of these kind of whinging old men who's complaining about everything that's going on in the new world, because there's a lot of really good things out there as well, and I use AI
Mhm.
every day, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
But there does seem to be an acceptance of lower standards and an acceptance that things are not going to be right. We talked about apologizing for making mistakes. Um, Here's my thought and concept at the moment now: this adoption of i- i- uh, the kind of s- sprint mentality is what I would call it. Let's fix
Mm,
everything in the way that the old world of computer programmers used to do in 2 week sprints or 10 day
yeah.
sprints, and quickly coming up and doing this, and we'll fix everything quickly. And the reality is, what we are now encountering is these enormous organizations that are allowing themselves to just hit deadlines, regardless or not whether the quality of the product they're putting out
Mm,
is satisfactory or not. So they're using us as customers as guinea pigs to expose the inevitable glitches that appear in every piece of software that we have, some of which are quite major. And now we're so used to, you know,
mm.
version 2.11.15 not working or having a glitch and being recalled back into it. We've come to accept it. What I think, well, why don't you just bloody well fix it? If you were a car and your brakes didn't work and you were discovering that because people were crashing your car and dying, you'd be out of
Mm,
business. Um,
yeah.
and so I think there's an unacceptable level of mistake making and lack of attention to quality control and products and things like that. Yes,
Oh,
a degree of experimentation always, but the younger generation know no different.
yeah. It's
They
like it's the
experience anything
norm.
that's not.
It's
Yeah,
the norm,
it is.
and I feel it comes from the Silicon Valley school. like build fast, make mistakes fast, and rebuild. But
Yeah.
it like if everything is built on that, when are you stopping and taking the time to build better? Okay, let's allow the mistakes, but people are not planning, strategizing, or anything. And then they wonder why they cannot build trust. Because,
Well, that fake it till you make it. I mean, the heart of the brand DNA, which is where I start, because you can get so um, muddled in this ridiculously complex world of jargon and brands and marketing. And I really try and pull people back down to it. The heart of it is understanding who you are, what you stand for, to whom and why, how you go about doing it. And that's
yeah.
what your brand DNA does. It gives you that constant check guide. And the heart of your brand is your promise, which is your overarching commitment to your defined target audience segment or segments, what it is that you do for them that really makes a difference to them, that adds value, that's meaningful for them, that solves a problem or a challenge or a need or an opportunity even. Um, so that promise I keep saying, because there's many components in the DNA, don't try and make it an overhyped thing that you're not going to deliver against. Don't try and make it into a catchy catchphrase that tries to catch people out with cleverness, but doesn't communicate clearly what it is that you're offering. Make sure that your promises you can keep completely. It should be relevant.
Mm.
Ideally, it should be compelling. It should interest them into wanting. It should help you become distinctive, if not different, in categories. And you should, above all, be telling the truth. You should be able to do it every time that you do it, with some exceptions when you're coming in early on. Yes, if you've got teething problems, a little, but really, always, you should be able to do that. Think of your promise as a promise to give a 6-year-old candy or
Mm.
sweeties, as we'd say. That 6-year-old will remember for the rest of her life if you forget to give it to her.
Yes,
And
kids
you
don't
will
forget and
you will
don't,
not be
yeah.
forgiven. So don't make a promise that in any way you can't deliver. You can create expectation and interest in the other aspects of what you're doing, the
Mm.
benefits, how you go about doing it in terms of interesting in people, your culture, sharing your beliefs. You know, so yeah. Anyway, I would beg of some of these larger and supposedly successful organizations. I'd love to know what their promises are, because delivering high quality, reliable products that to satisfy services is not amongst them half the time. Um,
It's true. It's true. I mean, that should be the basis. Like, I think I read today this phrase, you come for the brand, you stay for the product. So when you don't really work on the product to be above medium average quality, why should people stay? Like, again, they came for the promise, they came for the brand, and then you need to give them something to stay on. You know, they're not just going to stay just because they don't own you anything. That's one thing that I find it sometimes hard to believe. People building something sometimes feel people out there, humans, own them the right for attention and purchase, that they own them something magically. It's like, people don't own you anything. People are already kind of like trying to navigate through life, like sometimes surviving. Like, they really have bigger things to think of.
of course,
Um,
they really
yeah,
do. They really
they
do.
really do.
I, we talked about relationships and building relationships with brands and things like this. There's one of the things that I absolutely drives me crazy. And so for my Lighthouse team and members, I absolutely promise them that whatever they have paid to come in, and it's not a lot, because their whole intention is you make it really affordable to people who normally couldn't afford a, a dedicated, brand strategist or brand consultant. But you'll never be undercut. I'm not going to do one of
Mm.
these promotional offers to get new people to come in that's giving them a better deal than you're getting, which, companies like the banks and the telecom companies have been doing for years and years and years. And let me just share a little story here. And we just changed our telco provider, one that we'd been with since we arrived in Canada. So 18 years we've had
Oh my
this
God.
relationship with them. Um, and we ended up having problems. Our internet wasn't working well. We're in a kind of remote area, and it came and we tried to fix it. Said, no, it's nothing to do with your in-house system. It's on the street. It's us. We'll fix it. We'll send somebody around, and of course, nobody comes. And call again, and of course, nobody comes. And 2 months later, the problem got there. Bang, bang, their competitor literally knocks on the door, comes in and says, oh, we did this, we've got optical fiber, we've got this, and by the way, we can do it for half the price that your competitors are. And so, well, okay, perfect timing, come and do it. And so we went through the pain of disconnecting, the barriers to exit, which was a real pain. My wife gets a call from our old 18-year-old company saying, oh, proudly announcing, we're the win back team. We're going to do whatever it takes to win your custom back, even if it means we're going to do 10% lower than what you've been offered with your new thing. And we said, let me tell you one thing. I said, one, we don't really want to talk to you. Two, we'll do everything we can to make sure your department doesn't exist. If you really are interested in my business, give me a direct call to your CEO. You should be ashamed of the fact that you've got a win back organization. You should be
Mm.
a delight and retain organization. How many
Oh,
years have you been overcharging me? And are you willing to give me back the 18 years you've been overcharging me? Because then I might talk to you. Can you do that? Um, and of course, no, they don't deal with difficult people like me.
of course. Oh, you remind me a lot of my mom. I think my mom said the same speech to her telco company because it's like, it's unbelievable. This is where like you understand that a business, it's not understanding brand, you know? Because this part of the experience, it's something that you can map out on a brand strategy, and you can improve over time with you don't need to kind of like just invest the whole budget there one time. You can do it slowly, intentionally, but it's something that you don't miss out after 18 years. And of course, after a customer calling you over several times, it's not like it's why is this new to you? How come?
Yeah,
Like,
big brands don't get that because they're still run by, sorry, bean counters and financials. You can understand it. I've run huge organizations. I know the pressure to deliver bottom lines and things. And there's a segment out there called loyal faithful. Maybe we should put loyal, dumb, faithful, ignorant customers,
yeah.
who we're ripping off, in a big segment. Let's not knock on that door. We're making big margins on that. We don't want them to become
Mm,
aware of the fact that actually we're offering far, far less for our newcomers. And so don't ever, no, leave there. Well, when we teach values and things, we talk about this. We talk about sincerity, and they say integrity. You know,
mm,
um, Sincerity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
yeah. Yeah. Every
And
single
you know
time.
they will find that out eventually the hard way, because it
Mhm.
will come out in talks like I'm talking about now. I'm not
Yeah.
naming names for the brass
But
to.
yeah,
They're
but
not.
also it's like there's
Well,
how do you recover from that? That relationship, it's major broken, you know? Like it's like they are not understanding the audience, and in the face of this new technology era where a lot of smaller newcomers are coming, big companies are facing like a true um threat in this point of view, because what they like the small ones cannot offer about volume, they can
yeah,
offer in attention and experience. And if more
yeah,
brands are not taking into consideration the whole system, the holistic point of view when it comes to brand building and business building,
yeah.
in 20 years that is gonna have like quite a pickle, like, to be honest.
And conversely, let me give a positive one to kind of positive same city, same different things. This is my wife and my son, and where we're all kind of ice hockey fans, Canucks fans, and we bought a jersey for my wife, which of one of her favorite players, and uh, it's too big for her, so she kind of took it back to kind of get changed, and they have a kind of almost like no return policy. Not always.
Mhm.
That you can return it if it's done there, but um, anyway, cut a long story short, it was a very special jersey because it had a unique A for an assistant captain thing on it. It was the only one that they could do. And they actually went and found and put one on, a right sized one for her,
Oh,
refused to take payment for her, gave her a discount for the inconvenience of her having to come back in to basically, um, change the shirt. And next time they went to a game, she knew because they'd told the story of my son buying it for her. They came and gave 2 vouchers for free hamburgers for my son for them, and they because I knew the names.
oh,
And you kind of think that
that
that is
that's brand
brand
build
building
brand
relationship.
building. Yeah.
You've
No,
got forever.
that's
Yeah,
a masterclass. That's a forever customer. That's a forever customer that's gonna spread the word. That's
right.
that's that's a Sunday dinner conversation
Yes,
over the entire year. You know,
absolutely.
that action will perform 1,000 times better than any paid media campaign that they could think of. That one customer, it made it real. It's a human brand, it's a real experience. Like, if they can do that for that person, I want to be like in that universe. I want to belong to that brand. Like, I don't even know how hockey works, but I want to be with that brand. Like, I will become a fan for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. I'm telling you this story, and the Vancouver Canucks are now your hockey team.
Oh, that's great. We need more
They
examples
should be.
of this, like the small ones just giving lesson to the corporations how brand building actually works. Okay, Peter, it's been over an hour of conversation. I cannot thank you enough for this time, for doing this, for connecting with people who randomly texted you on LinkedIn like, "Hey, I'm just reading your book. I loved it." Um, I know there's like we live in a society where social media it's it has brought a very ugly part of us as a society, but at the same time, because I'm an optimistic, I think it also brings great opportunity. Like, it can also bring human connection. I
Absolutely.
think this session, it's a living proof of that. Um, we still have to meet in person, even if it's Canada
Yes.
or Santiago, because for those who don't know, but Peter actually knows Santiago. This is something that's
Yeah, yeah.
very
And I've
particular for me.
come back to Santiago
Yes, you
again.
need to
So
come
long
back.
ago.
We're gonna
So,
make it happen. But before we say goodbye, I would like to offer you some space so you can tell people listening today where they can find you, where they can reach out, if anything ring the bell for them, like when it comes to brand building or any particular story, where can they kind of like connect with you online?
oh, okay. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Well, you can go to my website, which is peterwilken.com. That's WILKEN
Mhm.
dot com, peterwilken.com. And that will link you to pretty much everything. You can, if you're interested in, we've talked a little bit about the Lighthouse Brand Strategy Academy. That
Mhm.
is for specifically solopreneurs, small business owners, and aspiring brand strategists to upskill their strategic thinking, to learn how to operate like a true chief brand officer, um, practicing with brand centered management skills and crafting unique brand DNAs. So you can find that within the website, and I've given a specific link to the Lighthouse sales page as well. And if anyone is interested in what we've been talking about with dim sum strategy, um, I've given Tamara a link which you can circulate for any listener who's interested. I'm offering a free audiobook for the complete audiobook, a link that you can download and listen for free. And hopefully you enjoy listening. And whether you're in Santiago or elsewhere, I do remember last time the traffic in Santiago wasn't great. And we had
It hasn't improved that much either.
So yeah, I know people were cheating the system by trying to buy cars with both old and even number plates so they could drive on every day of the week instead of alternate days. But um, if you're stuck in the car or you're listening or just jogging or doing anything else, then audiobook will hopefully be a good way of thing for you to listen to. And very, I really appreciate you and the platform and talking to you and connecting with you as a human, Tamara. You've got great vibes as well as smarts and such a good soul. And I wish you nothing but good things. It's going to come your way.
Oh, thank you, Peter. That's so kind
Mm.
of you. And it means a lot coming from someone with your experience and all like the wonderful related to work and related to life perspective and wisdom. I really appreciate it. Just for people listening, I read that book. It's such a nice book to read. If you're building anything, a small business, a medium business, if you work in a big company, it's such a useful tool. It's so well written. It's also fun to read.
Can I share
There it
that?
is. Yeah. Also, like if you get the printed copy, one thing that we talked with a friend, it was like, it's such a beautiful edition. It's so well designed. It's a gem. So I will share all of Peter's links on the description of this episode. And if you're not tech savvy and you cannot find it, send me a DM. I will personally send you every single connection that Peter has. Peter, it's been lovely. I don't know how else to thank you right now. I hope in 2026, 2027, the world in the future can align us and allow us to meet in person.
Let's
And
make it happen. Let's make it happen.
let's make it happen, because I feel when wonderful connections happen, they're for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not too mystic, but I do believe that things happen for a reason. And I think I got your book for, I don't know, a random thing. And today we're here. So people are just one click away. If you're ever wondering if you're feeling alone, people are one click away. Just make it happen. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank
It was
you. A
great
real
having you
pleasure.
here. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening. Bye.
Bye bye.
Este es un podcast de Love&Fear Studio. Diseño, estrategia y marketing con humanidad.